Alright, so the main issues with getting in and out of the airplane, or flying the airplane, are one, getting in, laying the wheelchair flat, positioning it this way, um, in a diagonal position next to the seat. But once I'm in the airplane, I need to make sure that I have good trunk support, and that's where this gate belt coming around my waist is for. So it keeps me up and supported, making sure that I have good. Um, I can get to all the controls and all the, especially the keys, and make sure that I can reach everything inside the airplane. Once that's done, number three is securing my right hand. That's with this black grip glove. Um, with this configuration of this airplane, having that grip glove so that I can secure my right hand to it. Once I'm in the airplane, I'm secured. I have my waist secured, my right arm secured. The issue then comes, and again, I have my left arm, which is 100% fully functional, that I can operate this joystick for the rudder. I have throttle up here, I have trim here, and I have the brake here. Um, the main issue comes with moving my right arm. I can move it this much back, right there, that travel, and I can push it forward, and I can bring it to the left. The issue comes with pushing it out to the right, and that's where I need some assistance of my left hand. And Joe's going to describe a little bit more of that and why that's necessary, and what his thoughts are about all of this.
So the main flight portion, being in the air, I think will be very doable. You can assist the right hand turns with leading with the rudder, and that'll make the controls a little bit lighter, and you should be able to accomplish or eventually get to where you can do the maneuvers. The critical phase of flight comes when we're trying to land, and there's a crosswind from the right hand side. What we have, if we're landing and there's no crosswind, then you get it lined up and you can take your hand off the rudder momentarily and adjust ailerons just fine. And we land, everything's in line with the runway, the plane lands, and then it's all on the rudders. The problem is, if we have wind blowing from this direction, then when we're coming in to the runway or approaching the runway, the plane has to be cocked off to the side in relation to the runway to maintain its position. Otherwise, if we held the nose straight, which is what we need for landing, we'll get blown away from the runway. Now, we of course have to land with the wheels straight, or we're going to risk going off the runway, or worse, tipping the airplane over when we're on the ground. We could damage the landing gear, blow the tires, and complicate issues. It's very dangerous. So we've got to figure out a way to make the airplane straight but not get blown away. And what we do is we use the rudder to line up the nose, and then we counter the wind that's coming from this direction by putting in aileron towards the wind, thereby taking some of the vector of our lift and using it horizontally to maintain our position, and we land one wheel at a time. The problem with the range of motion is you cannot get from you have to maintain the rudder pressure to keep the nose straight, and you're going to be constantly making adjustments, and get your aileron enough over to the right and adjust it independently to handle a right crosswind. Not only that, every time we flare, when we come into land, we need to pull the nose high, and it's called a flare, to touch down with the main wheels first. If we touch down on the nose first, it wheelbarrels, and that's extremely dangerous, because we have no control. We're passengers at that point. Whatever the plane's going to do, it's going to do. We need to land with the mains first, which means we've got to pull the nose up. As we pull the nose up, all of the left turning tendencies of the aircraft come into effect, and the plane wants to go to the left, as well as we're increasing drag while we're increasing a little bit of lift. in ground effect, which means you've constantly got to change your control surfaces to keep the plane lined up. As you pull the nose up, everything changes on you. And so it's very critical to be able to do both controls at the same time. In flight, I think we could overcome it with this configuration. I think you could. In landing, and if takeoff was in a crosswind, we'd have some very, very real critical issues that I believe puts the risk too high on your life.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
No worries.